Hey gang, welcome back to the big board. I'm going to have a quick look. I had a couple of folks ask some questions that were all very similar about what's the deal with the OST, the old school system, the old school tactical system. What's good about it? What's different? Is it better than system A, B, or C? Rather than focus on what it is or is not better than, I thought I would share with you a quick walk through the rule book just to A, refresh my memory because I haven't played in several months, but to sort of give you an insight into some of the things that I like about the system that I find somewhat refreshing, or I dare I say unique. Now I know someone is probably going to, when I say that and call out something that I think is unique, someone will probably post a comment going, oh, back in 1974, there was a game released that used exactly that mechanic. It's not unique. Nevertheless, unique to me. So here we go. Let's have a look, and we're gonna. I'll try and not belabor the point on things as best I can. Right? We'll kind of get after it. You are all familiar, hopefully, with the fact that the games come on massive mounted boards, and there are tracks on the sides of those boards, and all the counters, I think, are 1-inch counters, and they're all pre-cut and pre-clipped, so they're all pretty fabulous. Nice index in this release. More and more detailed as time goes on, as each version comes out. All right, so first things up, the first primary thing that I find somewhat different and that can lead to a wide range of variability in a game, any particular scenario you play. So it sort of adds significant replay potential just because of impulse points. So impulse points, each unit basically has 2 actions a turn, and they're going to be able to perhaps move and fire, or move, or it might be a move and assault, or it might be 2 fires, or whatever the case may be, right? As far as I recall, take that into account. So you got to keep track of when these guys are complete, as the case may be. It's got obviously your standard firepower, range, defense values, and all that fun stuff. You flip the units over to be reduced. No great shakes there. Armor stuff, we'll get into that in a second. We'll have a look at that. Casualty points are another. Where are the casualty points? So mention that here. Yeah, so casualty points here. We want to track, we're going to be tracking casualty points for the scenario. And that's a standard rule unless it's adjusted by the scenario, the specifics of the scenario. I like that, right? I like that fact that that's kind of, and let's not equate it to something that is already existing, but there are other systems out there that will track casualties, and then things will get to a certain point, and that's going to have a negative impact upon your impulse points that you accrue each turn, and we'll get to how that works in just one second. I'm going to flip through. These are just all the different units and bits and pieces and covered arcs and all the terrain. Lots of variability in the terrain. I like most of what I see when I play the game from that perspective. Line of sight is your standard line of sight that you would expect. Where are we at? Okay, impulse points. So the impulse system is kind of the heart of the game. Each side is going to receive a number of D6 that may have an incremental amount. So it might be, oh, the Germans are defending. They get 2d6 plus 1. That's going to be the number, whatever you roll for that turn, that's going to be the number of impulses, activities you're going to be able to execute in a given turn. It's kind of cool. Typically, the attacker is going to have more dice than the defender, and you might see something like 3d6 plus 3, which means you could have anywhere from 3 plus 3, like one, you roll a 1 on each 1d6, so you might have 6 impulses, or you might have 21, right? It's a pretty broad spectrum. That does add a lot of variability to the gameplay. What it also does, though, however, and it's one of the things that I have struggled with the game in the past, is sometimes if you're on a very limited time frame for a particular scenario, if you're the attacker and you roll incredibly low for the first couple of impulses, that can kind of, a couple of turns, I should say, that's going to kind of shoot you wide as far as being able to be successful. Now, you might then say, well, I'll just reset, or you might adjust the dice, or whatever the case may be, depending on who you're playing with, or it's solo or whatever. But often I'll find is I'll start out real low and get depressed and despondent about my ability to execute and why aren't the guys moving, and lo and behold, the next turn I roll a whole bunch of sixes in a row, and we have a plethora of points. All right, another interesting little, usability aspect that I quite like. All the attack factors and all that sort of good stuff are on the markers, on the counters, but you've got these cards that come with that, based on the range, is going to give you your penetration value, your armor penetration firepower, right? So obviously further away, less penetrative capability, harder to hit as well. So that's a reasonable amount of detail for what I think is a fairly straightforward system. Now, the other cool thing here, and I don't know if I've missed it. Oh, yeah, here we go, gut checks. So we have morale, which will be, you take an adverse result, you're going to potentially be shaken or broken. Everybody stand by. I can hear the washing machine beeping at me. I'll be right back. All right, back to the incredibly professional video recording with the washing machine now not beeping in the background. So we talked about the impulse points. Morale, you have these two states that can occur, but they are a function of your gut check. Every scenario is going to give each side basically a recovery or a morale value that you will attempt to roll for based on the results you get, whether it's a shaken or a broken. And if you make your roll, you may not end up being shaken, or you may not end up being broken. You might be shaken instead, or whatever the case may be. So that, I like that little aspect as well. It's not an automatic disruption or shaking of a unit based on the results. Same thing, but rallies are going to, some will come back automatically, others are going to require a gut check. There are free, as I said, there are free rallies. So you can spend an impulse to do rallies as well. Hidden units are an option in the game. There's some bogging down stuff that you got to roll for if you go through stupid terrain with vehicles. Landings, group moves. Oh, here's one of the cool little tactical things that I like about the game. Rolling cover. So it's a group move, and you can move a couple of units with the vehicle, and they will get a +1 to their defensive value because they're moving with the tanks. You know how you always see in those the movies the soldiers advancing behind or beside the tanks and stuff like that. So it's got that capability built into it. Assaults are interesting because you need to move up to and adjacent to the enemy, and then you need to execute a specific assault move to begin the melee function in the game. I like that, and I like the way melees work. Melees are pretty cool, actually, because you can have infantry melee, but then you can also have gunfights in what they call, I think they call them gunfights. I'll have to find it. It's in here somewhere. Where is it? For vehicles, when vehicles fire at each other. We'll find it in a sec. Intensive fire, you can elect to a unit that can use intensive fire if it has desperate needs to fire one last time. The unit is automatically shaken after doing so, however. Let me just take a sip of water. I've got a throat full of sawdust. I've been cutting trees all morning. All right, so that's infantry combat, vehicle damage, vehicle combat. Where is this vehicle melee stuff? It's kind of nifty. Here it is, tank duel. It's not called a tank firefight. It's called a tank duel. So that's going to be a melee. I like how that all works. I like the way opportunity fire works as well. It's pretty nifty. Let me just have a quick look at it. So when your opponent is moving, you can ask for a halt and fire at the unit. Moving to a new hex, that's all pretty standard. It's going to cost you an impulse point. There is one thing here that it does that I thought was different. You can do group fires. Only one unit of group fire may be attacked in a hex. Oh, okay. No, it's nothing particularly unique other than you can do these group fires as well. I think that's about it. Off-board assets, artillery and air and all good fun stuff like that. And that, that's kind of, if I was going to, and a nice index in the back, by the way. This has got better and better over time too. A little glossary of details in the back. So I know that was kind of quick, but still 11 minutes. The game scenarios are pretty well laid out in a separate booklet. So you're going to be able to find all your units and special rules and off-board assets and victory conditions and all that good stuff. Map layout, what parts of the map are going to be used. Plenty of scenarios in each game as well. So look, I enjoy it. OST has become one of my go-to World War II systems. I think it's got a great feel, thematic and narrative story generation for you playing. It plays a little bit differently than most of the other systems you might know of, lock and load, tactical, ASL, combat, very different from Combat Commander, which, I've played quite a bit of, but have, lost my interest in that card counting game. It does have its fans though, and so that's all good. Band of Brothers just has sort of faded to the wayside. I know that I think they recently launched a new Kickstarter for Band of Brothers. I have also sold that off. I'm trying to think of other tactical games I have that are squad based that would be equivalent. Obviously the light version of ASL would count Advanced Squad Leader, the light version, whatever that is called officially. Who else is making tactical games? I'm forgetting a couple. I know I am. Oh, well, Panzer. Everybody probably knows I enjoy Panzer enormously. That is very much more armored vehicle focused, however, individual tanks and all that sort of good stuff. I get that. So, Panzer and OST are my two World War II happy places to be. MBT and its expansions are my happy place for modern tactical, along with Lock and Load Tactical's modern releases are very, very good. They're probably the main guys. Oh, of course, and then there's the, I know what the other system is, but I can't remember because they haven't released a game in forever, but it's released errata free, and maybe that's a feature. Uwe's company. But anyway, there you go. Lots of good stuff in the box. It's an expensive entry point. I think it's $100 or thereabouts to make an entry into the system. So, your mileage may vary on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. The games are, generally speaking, mostly in stock most of the time. I know that Mark does his best to keep second editions alive and whatnot, but they do sell out quickly. So I guess if you're interested, you got to grab it. If not, you wait to buy it secondhand or whatever the case may be. It's a big, hefty package. Most games come with 1 or 2 expansion boxes, which typically include a scenario book, an additional map, fully mounted as well, and 1 or 2 additional counter sheets. I believe I have all of this stuff. It's all up there on the right. Probably see it right there, all the OST stuff. All right, there it is. I hope that helps folks trying to make their mind up about it. Feel free to pop questions in the YouTube comments. I'll try and answer them, or catch me on Facebook. Yeah, so there you have it. All the best. Ciao.